evening, and welcome back to another episode of His Will for Your Life. I am your host, Sherry Levon Harris, and I have joining me tonight is Rosa M. Bailey. She's an author of Straight from the Heart, and she's going to share with us her story, her journey, and all that good stuff. So please stay tuned, and we'll be right back as we celebrate Female Author Month.
His Will for Your Life with Cherie Harris. This is your weekly Wednesday 7 p.m. podcast. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope and a future. Jeremiah 29:11. Informative, hot topics, testimonies, interviews, along with your weekly guests and more. And now here's your host, Cherie Harris.
Welcome back to His Will for Your Life. Again, I'm your host, Sherry Levon Harris, and we have joining with me tonight is Rosa M. Bailey. Before we get into our discussion, please like, tag, and share. If you comment, that will help build our algorithm, and we would appreciate your comments and your likes and also your shares. Good evening, Miss Rosa. How are you?
I'm doing great, Sherry. How are you?
I won't
I'm just so
complain.
happy about this opportunity.
I'm really glad that you accepted this invitation, and so we're going to give you an opportunity to share with the audience who you are and what you do.
Okay, so I am Rosa Bailey, and who I am is a lot of things. I wear a lot of titles, and I actually fit my shoes and fit my feet in a lot of shoes. But I am the owner of Beatrice Publishing House, and it is a literary consulting firm where we assist clients into turning their writings into books and their pages into being an author. So that's who we are.
Awesome. I'm glad to hear that. So hopefully, some people can reach out to you for your services. So thank you for sharing that information.
You're welcome.
So I have your book here with me, and thank you for my book, by the way.
You're welcome.
And I want to talk to you about this book. It's a book of poetry. And so I found it interesting. Very good read. Some of the titles just stood out to me. Would you like to share one of them before we go?
Sure. Let me see. I'm going to share what I consider my signature poem,
Okay.
and it's entitled "Going Together."
Okay.
And so, how the poem came about was the Sean Pace would come to our church quite a few times because our pastor just loved her. So she actually stood in the pulpit before she got ready to sing, and she said, "You know what? I was going with a man that wasn't going with me,"
Mm.
and I was like, mm. Then she sang the song and everything, and so normally when I write it usually is beginning with a title. So I come from the old school of when we were taught to write a paper that you had to put your name on the left hand side and the date on the right hand side, and you started with a title. So going together, I'm remembering as a child, when you were dating someone, it says, I'm going with him, and it's like if I don't go with him anymore, I quit him. So that what she said really really struck me. So the poem goes this way. I was going with a man that wasn't going with me. the places I like to go to, he said, that's for you, that's not for me, that's not my cup of tea. What, but why was I going with a man that wasn't going with me? Why did I see so much in him when he saw so little in me, when he saw so little of me?
Mm-hmm.
Why did I long to be with this man who really didn't want to be with me? I thought we was going together, but how could everyone else see how I was going with a man that wasn't going with me?
Mm. Wow. So before we get into some more, because there were some heavy topics in there in this poem, right? I like that one too.
Thank you.
Um, so we're gonna just take that little journey of how you got into writing,
Okay.
and then how you got into poetry. Um, does writing energize or exhaust you?
Oh, it definitely energizes me. So I initially started off as an actual, what I consider writer. I mean, well, I'll say it this way. I started off as a reader first.
A reader. Okay.
So I feel that in order for you to be a good writer, then it's going to come from words. So so some of my avenues have been between reading the Bible, between reading books. So a lot of reading. So I actually have over 200 books in my personal library. I would have more, but I have to spread my wealth somewhere else. So it really, really is with the reading. And then with the reading for me comes the words. And so I have an extensive background, extensive vocabulary when it comes to words. Actually, I call myself a wordologist or a wordsmith. So that's exactly where it initially came from. And so a lot of writing, and when I would actually read books, sometimes I would literally write in the book, and take notes in the book. And so maybe about 15 years ago, maybe a little longer, one poem came to me, that I wrote, and it's in the book. It's called Your Opinion, really, really short. And then I didn't write anymore. And then one particular night, I just didn't feel like I was depressed or anything, but I just needed a release. And so my poetry came through me basically needing a release. So some of my poems at beginning was um, Set Free, one entitled Set Free, Victim to Victor, um, particular poems like that where I needed a release. And then I said, well, you know what? Let me challenge myself. Let me not stay there. If I was to put my poetry in a book, I would want to be a little bit more versatile like than that. So then I just really challenged myself.
Okay. Okay. Um, what challenges do you face as a writer?
What challenges? The only challenge I feel that I face as a writer is just for me to show up authentic. To, I would say to the point where when I write, I'm writing to encourage myself, but definitely to encourage someone else. And so the only challenge I would have is how transparent do I want to be? Because I have a girlfriend, a childhood friend, who has my book, and after reading it, she immediately could tell, what poems were me and what poems were not me. So this particular book of poems, it's entitled "Straight from the Heart: Conversational Poetry Just for You," because I'm just talking. And how the title came straight from the heart was, I was a consultant for 13 years for personal preference art. And one of the vice presidents in Chicago, I was reading my poems to her. And as I read them to her, she says, wow, these poems sound like they're coming straight from your heart to mine. And I promised myself I would give that title. And so with my poetry, some of my poems are none of me. Some of them are all of me. Some are maybe like Tyler Perry would say, "Who is Medea?" Well, she's a little bit of my mother, a little bit of my aunt, a little bit of the woman down the street. So my poem "Victim to Victor" is all of me. What I did with that particular poem was I took myself back to my 20-year-old self.
Hmm.
And so that is totally me at 20 years old.
Okay. I was going to ask that.
Yes.
Where do you gain your inspiration?
I gained my inspiration from the memories and the love that I still hold for my mother. My mother passed away 36 years ago at age 48. And so what I did was named my publishing company after my mother. So that's why it's called Beatrice Publishing House. And when you open up my book, the book is dedicated to my mother. And then
Mhm.
there's a quote that I hold dear that's a quote from Abraham Lincoln that says, "All that I am and all that I ever hope to be, I owe it to my mother." So I initially get my inspirations from my mother. And she also used to say, "Silver and gold I may not have, but such as I have, I give you Jesus." So she gave me Jesus. So definitely my spirituality. And then I'm married with 3 sons and 3 grandchildren. So I get my inspiration from my family and also my siblings and friends.
Great. Wow. Have you ever experienced writer's block? And
Yes, I
what
have.
do you do when that happens?
Um, I just take a break
Oh,
because again, I want to be authentic. Because majority of the poems, I would say, in this particular book, there was no rewrites. Like I would literally go back and look at them again, and I was like, "Whoa, okay, okay, you go, girl." And so my husband, so it was flowing for a long time, and so years ago, the show in Living Color, there was a skit where the guy would be strumming a banjo, and he's like, "Do do do do." I think I write a song about it. So the joke with my husband and I was, "Okay, do 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 do." I think I write a poem about it. So I've gotten inspired. Like there's another poem that's called Spoon Fed. And so Spoon Fed came from a conversation with my girlfriend Renee that lives in North Carolina. And the first line of the poem came
mhm.
from her. And the second part, I answered it. So if I could I'm not gonna read it, but the first line. So we were literally on the phone having a conversation, and she said, "As parents, we have allowed our children issues to become our problems." And then I answered her, "Because they are spoon fed," and that's where the poem "Spoon Fed" came from.
Awesome.
Yes. So they come so many different ways. Like I have 2 poems that was inspired by 2 of my sons. And yeah, so it comes so many different ways. Like right now, I'm getting inspired by just being in your presence, so I can feel a poem coming.
Isn't that interesting? Do you want your books to stand alone, or um, are you building a body of work and connecting each book?
Actually, yes, I'm building a body of work, and my desire is, and I love the way that you put everything together in the preparation for this. So I'm branding this portion of my business with straight from the heart. And so what I've done already is I have the book that you have, which is the poetry book, and it's an eclectic collection of poems where a woman is taking her journey of healing and brokenness and low self-esteem. So that woman was me. And so then I just finished a journal. So it's called Just for You. So what I did with the journal was to take my picture off. And so this in that particular book, the journal book, it has 2 pages. One where it actually has journaling tips, and the other page is the power of journaling. And then it's 50 pages where you can just journal. The next one that I'm finishing up is actually called a journey guide. And so because the poetry book is, as I say, just for you to, coming from me. And it's the best way to explain is reading it here. Each poem designed to speak into the reader to build them up to becoming their very best. So the poems are my gift to you. So the next book that I'm finishing up, and I'm so excited about it, It's called a journey guide because at the time I didn't know if I wanted to do a journal or study guide.
Mhm.
And so with the journey guide, it's going to allow you to take it's a hybrid of a journal and a study guide. And because again, like I said, when I've read books, when I do read books, certain books resonate to me. For me to really treat it as me studying it and writing in it, so the journey guide is going to do that. And the other part of it that I so the first page um, has this question: Are you tired of? Um, are you no? Are you ready to heal from other people, because
Mhm.
there's so many times people, are you ready, because so many people um are just going through life broken, and it's so many different reasons why. And then on the second page, it basically, something I put on Facebook a couple of weeks ago, is your drama will not cause me trauma. Because one of the things that I've been working on, and I know most people just stay right there, which is they work on their childhood ideologies. And we know that people normally do that because if you go to a therapist, the first thing they want to do is find out what happened in your childhood. So people work on their childhood ideologies, but I have taken myself on a personal journey to go past that, to work on my adulthood ideologies, also my workplace ideologies, and also my church ideologies, and now my business ideologies. Because there's certain things that we've learned um, from. I like to say that we're a microcomposite of people, places, and things. So I know I'm a little bit of Beatrice Martin, a little bit of Curtis Martin, and then I'm a little bit of my experiences that I've had on a job or jobs, for a career, and so it does really, really shape you.
Okay, so that leads me to my last question before I get into the book titles. If you could tell your younger writing self anything, what would it be?
If I could tell my younger writing self, it would be, don't have any fear,
Mm.
because fear is false evidence appearing real, and that you are worth it, and that whatever you want to do, put the effort in doing it, because awareness plus execution equals results. It may not be always the desired results that you want. And also, I would tell myself the boundaries when it comes to other people, not putting so much um, effort into being their cheerleader, but to be more my cheerleader, and that it's okay to be, it's okay to have that um, thought of me, myself, and I. That it's not selfish to say me, myself, and I. Because if
Mhm.
me doesn't want it, myself doesn't have to do it. So me, myself, and I will do what I really want to do.
Mhm. Self care is the best care. So here we come to your book. So the pages are kind of out of order, like some higher and some lower than whatever stood out to me, I wrote down.
Okay, no, not a problem. And then I have the
Page,
table of contents.
page 34.
Okay.
It tickled me first, right? I want and need a man with a little thug in him.
Okay, so how that poem came about
Mm-hmm.
is I didn't come up with that title. What happened is there's a woman by the name of Conchetta Lewis
Mm-hmm.
who is saved, sanctified, filled with the Holy Ghost. And
Mm-hmm.
she went to do a workshop quite a few years ago that I sat in. And she said, made the statement, I need a man with a little thug in him. And I was like, okay. And so maybe a couple weeks later, I literally was in my car driving to work, and the poem that you see written in the book, That entire poem was written in my head. The entire poem. But the title of it is I Need a Man, I Want a Man, because I couldn't remember whether she said she needed one or she wanted one. And so I wrote the poem as if she wrote it. And I had an awesome opportunity to actually um, do the personal preference art that I was doing. She was she hosted a show for me, show for me, and I actually recited that poem and a couple other poems. So I give the credit to Conchetta for having that title, and at the beginning of the poem, it actually lays out that I'm a Christian woman, and so yeah, it was Conchetta that inspired me to write that.
I like that topic. I think we're all like a little thug,
Yeah.
and I'm in. Page 33, House Punk 2.
Okay. So House Park came from a woman by the name of Carolyn Cross. She was my next door neighbor because when I was growing up here in uh, Connecticut, I didn't grow up with any aunts, uncles, cousins, or grandparents, and my mother, father, my two brothers. So she was, we call her Miss Cece, and she actually was the equivalent of aunt to me. And so what happened is she would always be referring to a family member as house punk. And I was like 12 years old, and she was like, house punk this, house punk that. She would never, I knew what his real name was, but she would never say it. And that just tickled me. When we were younger, we would say, oh, um, we would use the word punk, and so the poem is my version of house punk, and it's kind of loosely of my personal experience, of you know dealing with someone that your mama took good care of you. Now I'm doing it too. My mind went to thinking, my attitude went into a funk. That's why I'm wondering, am I living with a house punk? And so house punk, the first poem, actually, the two poems are actually, in regards to writing, believe it or not, they're probably like 8 years apart. So what happened was when I got ready to literally uh, have my book printed, it was, I needed more poems in there. I had the poems, I had enough poems to finish the book, but it was the flow of it. And so because of that, I just decided to go, and I would say like maybe a month before the book was finished, I wrote like another 15 to 20 poems. And so that's where House Park 2 came about. And I've been promising a House Park 3. I already know what it's. I already know what it's. So House Park 1 is basically living with the person. The House Park 2 is having the strength to kick them out. House Park 3 is that they're gonna show back up, and you're gonna have to let them know. I'm for real, for real. But I always, but what I do before I share it, I always say to people, "Would you like to laugh?" So, yeah, I see a lot of humor in it, but
Yes, absolutely.
thank you.
Page 40, Never Too Late.
Never too late. Never too late is just based on the fact that the first thing crossed my mind is what I've heard Bishop T.D. Jakes say: "Delayed but not denied." And the fact that age is really just a number. I mean, there's certain things that maybe you can't do anymore. Like one of his sermons, he said, "You know what? It wasn't until I was like 45 that I realized I could run. Like I really could run, But there's certain things that it's never too late to be what you're supposed to be." So that's where Never Too Late came from. Again, as an encouragement for me and for others.
There's two more. Page 42, Wounded by Friendly Fire.
Well, Wounded by Friendly Fire, the title came from the fact that I know that's a title in the military. And so I remember for so many years that I always thought about the fact that we talk about terrorists abroad. And what happens is there's a lot of people that are terrorized in their own home. And so that's where that came from, Wounded by Friendly Fire.
Okay. Our last one, page 39 on forgiveness.
Um, Forgiveness
Hmm.
is for me um, more than it is for someone else. Um, so forgiveness for me is so anyway, to be very transparent, throughout my life, I always felt that I did a lot of things backwards. And so normally when I'm speaking publicly, I like to say it this way. My mother gave me my luggage, but my father gave me my baggage. So my mother actually said to make me feel that as long as it wasn't like something so far fetched, that she would actually put her time and her dime towards it, and she was my number one cheerleader. And then my father, because of some private issues he had that was never addressed, I felt like he gave me my luggage. And so once they both passed away, like 6 years apart, I was deitizing my mother and demonizing my father. So I had to get to a place where there was a balance, where, you know, recognize that there were some things that she could have done differently, and forgive her for that, and recognize that my father wasn't, you know, I didn't need to continue to demonize him, but see some of the positive things and see that there were certain things that he was not able to give to me because he didn't have it to give. So
Hmm.
that forgiveness in relationships, even forgiveness to being on a job of not getting promotion and being treated poorly, even forgiveness in church, feeling like a strong spirit of favoritism, and forgiveness for family members, of having certain family members that I wanted them to be something that they didn't have a desire to be for me or to me, and be okay with that, and
Hmm.
show up as still my authentic self, and not, as my mother used to always say, no tit for tat, no strings attached. Do things because you really want to do them. So that's the forgiveness for me.
Okay. As we come to an end of our discussion, what are some takeaways and what are some thoughts that you will have for our audience? And also, how can we purchase your book?
You've given me a lot. So basically, the takeaway that I would like to say is that the Beatrice Publishing House, it's a literary consulting firm. So my desire is for any of my clients for them to have ownership. So in having the ownership, it would be for them to purchase their ISBN number, and that's basically Social Security for their book, and for it to be ownership, and also for them to purchase a barcode so that they could sell it in retail stores and other places. So that's my desire, and the biggest thing is to let people know that it does not take 20, 10, even 5 years to write a book. And also, the biggest takeaway is for people to move from writing to publishing. Because again, so many people, and I had that in my head too, I want to write a book, I want to write a book. So if you want to write a book, well, write. If you're not really a writer, there is such a thing as ghostwriters. So a finished book has to be written. So either you write it or you get a ghostwriter, and publishing is doable. And
Hmm.
even if you don't want to publish um, with it being a paperback or hard copy, then look into an ebook, which is just last week. A young man showed me exactly how to go the ebook route. But I feel that everybody has a story to tell, and it is a good release. And I'm not just going to just stay with poetry. I have a couple business books to write. in Finnish. One of them is how to take the R out of free, and the
Mhm.
other one is how to take the L out of play. Because sometimes people want everything for free and they think you're playing. So you laughing.
But it's
I'm
the
glad
truth.
my mother used to say I was something else. She just never said what. I tend to make people laugh at times with.
But it's the truth. It really is. And
Yes,
it took me a while to know my worth. And now that I
yes.
know it, I add tax to it.
I
So if
love
they're
it.
not going
I
to get
love it.
it from me, they're going to get it from somewhere else. So,
Exactly. Then also, my mother used to say, you're going to pay two ways. You're going to pay either in money, you're going to pay in aggravation. So
mhm.
yes, so yes, but yeah, that's the biggest takeaway. And in order to right now get my book, it would be you can reach me on IG CEO Boss Lady 1022. Again on Instagram CEO Boss Lady 1022. You can also reach me on Facebook, and also my email address is CEO Boss Lady 1022 at gmail.com. And the reason why I initially was not on Amazon, because for me, it was a book of healing, a book of release, and I initially went the self-published route because I didn't want to send my book out to 10 different publishers and have them reject it. You know, it was already a book based out of healing from rejection. So I decided to go the self-publishing route. It has been very liberating for me. And then I also decided to delay putting it out on Amazon where they wanted as far as I'm concerned, a very high percentage. But I am, considering moving forth, but I do truly believe in ownership. God bless the child that has its own. Thank you.
I went ahead and added your IG. Um,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
you're welcome. So that they can follow you on Instagram. I need to follow you as well. I don't think
Thank you.
I'm following
Appreciate
you.
it.
You're
Can I
welcome.
say something about you?
This isn't
I
about me.
just want to say that this has been amazing. I just want to let everybody know that this is the first time I'm really meeting you, that we realized that we grew up together, and, and I, know some of your family members, and you probably know, maybe my brothers, because that's more or less consists of my family members, or either my in laws. But I just want to say that years ago that I was accused by family members that Facebook was going to get me in trouble because they did not want to be on Facebook. And I was really told that, why are you always on Facebook? But I want to say that in last year, I actually was part of a awesome mentoring program, multi-general mentoring program down at Clark Atlanta University. I found it on Facebook. I went to Sisters in Business in New Jersey on my birthday, and I stayed there for a long weekend. I found it on Facebook. The reason why I'm here today is because I have been following Sherry on Facebook, and you gave this opportunity on Facebook, and I have learned too that there's success in movement, and that sometimes you have to move quickly. So I just want to say that I've seen you simply on Facebook in a professional, um, godly Christian lady. And the reason why I say lady, because my mother taught me that anybody can be a woman, but everybody can't be a lady. So I just want to say, Lady Sherry, that to meet you is to like you, but to get to know you is to love you. You are so professional. Even when I was in the back room and I saw the beginning of the podcast, I had to calm myself down. I was like, you know what? What have I got myself into? Because this is big time. And then I got a little nervous because when I was telling my husband I was about to come on, he said, well, you know what? I guess you're going to probably after this be hearing a phone call from Oprah and Gail. I said, don't say that. Don't go there. So, but once I saw how professional and the detail that you put into this podcast, I just want to say that God is going to give you twice as much as you have. And I just want to tell you that in Mark 11:23-24 says, have faith in God, speak to your mountain, do not doubt in your heart, and you can have whatever you say. And I'm just telling you that this podcast means so much to me because I know it's a tool. Uh, it, it's a tool to be able to serve because one of the
Mhm.
things too, even as an author, you're not going to necessarily make a whole lot of money. But the thing about it is, I asked God to shift me from selling to serving. So I just want to thank
Mhm.
you that you have given me an opportunity today on this podcast to serve. And I appreciate it and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for those kind words. That's another poem. Well, that's another book title, From Selling to Serving.
Thank you.
So you better get on it.
Thank you. I
Let
appreciate
me
it. You
drop
are
in
you
some
are
time.
amazing. I just want to say that. I really appreciate you. I look forward to getting together with you this year. We can make it happen.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for accepting this invitation. Thank you for sharing your story with us, sharing your book with us. If you didn't tell people how to, did you tell them how to get your book?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
And the book is $15, and yes, so they could just go ahead and reach me, the IG and like I said, the email, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Thank you so much, Miss Rosa. It was a
You're quite
wonderful
welcome.
time talking with you, having this discussion about your book and about these poems. Um, they were good. You want to leave us out with a poem?
Yes, I will. Let me see what I want to leave with. Well, since you since you laugh so much about House Park, I'm gonna go ahead with House Park. Okay, so I was lying in bed with what I thought was the man of my dreams, but reality set in when I woke up as he let out a yell and a scream. Hey, sugar girl, you're waking me up. As I was crawling over bed to as I was crawling over to get out of bed to get dressed and prepare for work. Wake you up? What am I waking you up to? Your mama took good care of you. Now I'm doing it too. My mind went to thinking and my attitude went up into a funk. That's what I thought. Am I living with a house punk? Always making excuses on why they don't have a job. They won't work one job, but will be happy to pick you up from job number one to bring you to job number two in your car.
Mm.
I can't believe this life that I'm living. There is something I must do. My mind went to thinking and my attitude went into a funk. That's when I wondered, am I living with a house punk? You can get bamboozled and deceived because a house punk looks good, looking all grown up, saying the right things, never looking like a boy, playing with toys. But then you come home, the dishes piled high in the sink, excuse me, with garbage not empty since last week. When from the kitchen, you look at him with his propped up feet. He say, "Hey, sugar girl, what's to eat?" My mind went to thinking of my attitude with a fart. That's when I knew I was living with a house punk. Excuse me for the cough.
That's okay. Are you at gmail.com?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
And I was doing so good too. I was like, let me not cough.
That's okay. I'm just putting that out there so that they'll know how to purchase this book from you. And please support her. Please support all the female authors that will be here on this podcast all month. Next week, we do have another author. What did I do with her book? And her book is From Brokenness to Healed. It's a 21-day read along, write along journal. And her name is Nakia, and she will be with us next
Nice.
week.
Oh, I look forward to that.
So please join us and please support these African American female authors. Yes,
Yes.
just happened to turn out that way. Not that I was just doing Black authors, but it turned out that way, and so we're going to support. Um, Again, we're about to close. Do you have anything else you want to say before we close out?
Just like for people to believe themselves and work on themselves, because we talk about total, I mean, self care, but there's such a thing as total care. So work on yourself. That's it.
Work on yourself. Sounds great. Thank you so much for joining us for another episode of His Will for Your Life. Please share, please follow Miss Rosa. Um, you can follow her on Instagram at CEO Boss Lady 1022. You can also email her at CEO Boss Lady 1022 at gmail.com to purchase her book. And please do so. Please purchase her book from her. And that's it. Thank you all for joining us. And to remember, it's okay not to be okay. The key is not to stay there. Great evening. You all right, sis?
Yeah. On Sunday, I think I was just getting all excited,
That's okay.
getting very overwhelmed.
Yes,
So I'm the type I just get overwhelmed. So I just
that's okay. That's okay. Mm, bless her, Father.
thank you.
Hmm.
I mean, certain people just don't realize that the opportunities. Um, sometimes okay. So I think that what it is that the Bible tells you that a prophet is not honored in his own country. So I just want to say is that stop focusing on, especially people. I know we're talking about authors, but even authors, business people, and one of the things that I'm thankful for is that when I first published the book, of course, all the support from my family and from my friends. But as I branch out, and because this actually December was 4 years that fourth anniversary of the book, and I have new things. I just want to say to people is that don't get boggled down about uh, who doesn't support me and who's not there for me, because that will hinder you.
Hmm.
Because sometimes some people are going to stay local,
Hmm.
and the local could be right in their own backyard, and you're looking at them being celebrated, and you think that that's going to be your route, and you don't know that God has much, much more for you. So to me, I'm getting very overwhelmed to know that I didn't even have to leave out of my own home to be able to um, be on this platform. I'm in Louisville, Connecticut. You're in Chesapeake, Virginia. And again, I don't take it lightly that we're just really seeing each other, you know. And what happens is so many people will not do the things they need to do because they will allow the fact that someone again is not supporting them, someone is not there for them, the
Hmm.
people that they're looking to call their name is not calling their name, and then they get frustrated, they get discouraged. So I just want to let people know that whatever is for you is for you, and that God will open up the doors that needs to be opened up, and He will. Um, Bring you to the people that he needs to bring you to, um, for what you need to accomplish. So that's one of the reasons why I'm just so appreciative of, again, this opportunity, because it could have been anybody but me, but it was me, it is me, and I'm so happy. So thank you.
You're welcome. But I want you to know, fret not small beginnings.
Yes.
This is just something simple. that God has opened for you, and believe you me, many doors are about to open for you. Many more doors. So be ready. This was
Thank you.
just a
Appreciate
rehearsal.
it. Thank you. But I
Okay.
just want everybody to know that this is so well put together. So whatever Sherry puts her hands to do, I know that not only going to prosper, but if you can be a part of it, definitely be a part of it because she does things very well, very classy, very professional, and I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. You just was gonna make this about me, weren't you? But thank you so much. Stay in the background. Do not leave. But we are about to close. But I want you to stay in the back so we can chat a little bit. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you again for joining us. Stay tuned for next week, and God bless you all.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Join us again next week for another riveting, informative segment